The Green Bay Packers and Houston Texans are two of the most well-rounded teams in the NFL. Both teams boast elite quarterbacks, strong running backs, and balanced offenses and defenses. So, it was no surprise that they delivered a thrilling performance at Lambeau Field on Sunday. Packers kicker Brandon McManus, signed just 5 days prior, nailed a 45-yard field goal as time expired, securing Green Bay a 24-22 win. This marked Green Bay's third consecutive victory, improving their record to 5-2, while Houston dropped to the same 5-2. McManus, now in his 11th season, had recently signed with Washington before being released. He stepped up in his Packers debut, not only clinching the game, but also celebrating with a Lambeau leap. On another note, Josh Jacobs finally broke his touchdown drought. After 211 receptions without a score, his 212th catch, a short 8-yard pass in the third quarter, found the end zone. Jacobs, with 197 catches during his Raiders tenure and 14 with Green Bay, finally celebrated his first receiving touchdown. On defense, Eric Wilson made the most of his limited playing time. After Quay Walker left with a concussion, Wilson stepped up with 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and 6 total tackles. He played a key role in shutting down Houston's offense, including back-to-back sacks of CJ Stroud and stopping running back Joe Mixon for a loss. The Packers defense held Stroud to just 86 passing yards, his lowest of the season. Stroud completed 10 of 21 passes with no touchdowns or interceptions, finishing with a passer rating of 58.8. Rashawn Gary and Xavier McKinney also added to the sack tally, while safety Evan Williams made a crucial stop on a Texans 2-point conversion attempt. Romeo Doubs led Green Bay's receiving corps with 8 catches for 95 yards. Despite his recent suspension, Doubs remains focused, noting that everyone in their receiving group is capable of stepping up. When the Packers signed Josh Jacobs as both a replacement and short-term backfield partner for Aaron Jones, it was clear they were making him a key part of the offense. Why wouldn't they? You don't hand out a major free agent contract without planning to make that player a focal point. And Jacobs had been consistently productive, even on struggling Raiders teams. 7 weeks into the season, things have gone as planned. Jacobs lead the Packers with 136 total touches, far outpacing the next closest player, Emmanuel Wilson, with 53. He has 120 carries and 16 receptions. He's also miles ahead of other offensive contributors like Jaden Reed with 39 touches, Tucker Kraft 22, and Christian Watson 10. It's remarkable just how much Jacobs has carried the load. He's had more touches than all of Green Bay's wide receivers and tight ends combined. He's on pace for 330 touches this season, and only 4 players in the entire league have handled the ball more than Jacobs so far. Yet, somehow, the narrative persists that the Packers aren't giving Jacobs enough touches, particularly aiming for 20 touches per game. But Jacobs is nearly there. His 136 touches average out to 19.4 per game, just a hair under the magic 20 number. He's already had games of 18, 32, 15, 13, 20, 21, and 17 touches. Just 5 more touches over 2 games would have pushed him over 20 touches in 5 of 7 games. In some cases, the Packers might be their own worst enemy in limiting Jacobs. Against the Eagles, he started slow, partly due to poor field conditions and some self-inflicted mistakes. On their third drive, a Jacobs run set them up with a 1st and goal from the 3-yard line, but a pass interference call backed them up. Had things gone differently, he likely would have hit 20 touches that game. A similar story played out against the Texans, where 3 straight 3-and-outs and in the second half limited Jacobs to just 3 touches during that stretch. The bigger issue, though, is whether the Packers have the offensive structure to get Jacobs 20 touches consistently. Most of his touches come from handoffs, but the Packers' run blocking hasn't been great. Forcing the run with Jacobs when the line isn't creating lanes feels like wasted plays. Still, Jacobs has been solid, and the Packers should be pleased with what he's done so far. With Jordan Love under center, the offense is still evolving, and Jacobs should continue to be productive. But his success isn't tied to hitting a specific touch count, and chasing that number might be more about stats than strategy. This Thursday marks exactly a year and a half since the Green Bay Packers traded Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets in exchange for 2 second-round picks and a first-round pick swap. At the time, the deal seemed like a reasonable conclusion to months of negotiations. Now, it's clear the Packers came out ahead. This isn't about Aaron Rodgers' Achilles injury in Week 1 last season, the Jets' 2-5 start this year, or even the specific players Green Bay selected with the picks. Lucas Van Ness and Ed Jerian Cooper, the first and second rounders, were reserves on Sunday, and Luke Musgrave, another second rounder, is on injured reserve. What makes the trade a win is simpler. It paved the way for Jordan Love and the young core surrounding him. That alone makes it a victory for Green Bay. Sunday's game wasn't perfect, but it underscored that point once again. Despite 2 first-half interceptions from Love, a 3-0 turnover deficit, and the defense allowing 142 rushing yards, the Packers pulled off a 24-22 win over a strong Houston Texans team. They showed the same resilience that's defined their season, overcoming Love's knee injury and relying on the stability he's brought to the team since becoming the starter. After leading an 8-play, 44-yard drive to set up Brandon McManus' game-winning 45-yard field goal, Love had a moment to reflect on how his team battled through a tough contest, but more importantly, he shifted the focus to the team around him and what this win says about the group Green Bay has assembled. The Green Bay Packers came into Sunday's game against the Texans with the NFL's best 9 turnover margin. Despite being -3 in turnovers against Houston, they still pulled off the victory. Under coach Matt LaFleur, the Packers have only been -3 or worse in turnovers 3 times. The first instance was in Week 6 of the 2019 season, when they overcame the same deficit against the Lions with a game-winning field goal from Mason Crosby. Turning the ball over while failing to take it back is typically a recipe for disaster. Teams that were -3 or worse in turnovers this season had been 0-10, and last year they were 4-44. In 2022, those teams went 1-37. On the first possession, Jordan Love threw an interception on 3rd down, intended for Dontavian Wicks. The Texans took over at Green Bay's 11-yard line, but only managed a field goal. Early in the second quarter, Kyshawn Nixon mishanded a punt, leading to another Texans possession at Green Bay's 11, where Joe Mixon scored, putting Houston up 10-7. Late in the first half, Love overthrew Christian Watson, leading to another interception in a Mixon touchdown that gave Houston a 19-14 lead just before halftime. After 3 turnovers, Green Bay was fortunate to still be in the game. The Packers' offense was sluggish for much of the second half, but at least they avoided further turnovers. Still, they need to find a balance between Love's big play potential and his costly mistakes. Even after missing 2 games, Love will likely rank no worse than 2nd in the league with 15 touchdown passes through Week 7, but he's also on pace to lead the NFL with 8 interceptions. If you're expecting Love to dial back his aggressiveness, don't hold your breath. Despite the mistakes, the Packers found a way to win. Great teams don't make dumb errors, but they also know how to grind out wins when they're not playing their best. Green Bay's defense limited Texans star quarterback CJ Stroud to just 10 of 21 passing for 86 yards, and the pass rush stepped up with 4 sacks. While Joe Mixon rushed for 115 yards, the Packers held him to just 34 yards on 14 carries in the second half. Special teams also delivered, with punter Daniel Whalen averaging an impressive 56.8 yards on 5 punts and making a crucial hold on the game-winning kick. For all of Love's miscues, he also made the big plays. His 14-yard touchdown pass to Tucker Kraft was a bullet, and his 30-yard strike to Dontavian Wicks was perfectly placed. When the game was on the line, Love led the Packers downfield to set up Brandon McManus for the game-winning field goal. In the end, the Packers won a game that they probably should have won more comfortably, considering the Texans' injuries. But hey, a win's a win, and this one could have significant benefits moving forward. Let me know down below of what you thought about this Packers game, and if you made it this far and you haven't already, make sure you go down below and you subscribe, and you turn the notification bell on so you never miss a Packers video, or any video at all. Leave a like as well, I greatly do appreciate it, and I'll see y'all in the next one.